Good evening and welcome to a public ordinance hearing on solid waste. A motion to go into public hearing.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Seconded.
All in favor? During the June meeting, we made some changes to the solid waste ordinance because it had been changed since '92. Was that it? Yeah. And we are dealing with our trash in a different way now because they closed the burning facility in Biddeford. And Bob Mann, our superintendent at the transfer station, came in with some issues that were happening because private haulers were starting to go around and charge people to pick up trash at their house and then bring it to the transfer station. And there was nothing in the ordinance to make sure that that trash was not coming from other towns. So the selectmen had put forward a ordinance for the June meeting, changing those things that Bob had suggested to us. And during the Warren and Finance's overview of the ordinance, Mr. Neal, who had written the original ordinance, had some more suggestions. But the timeline didn't allow us to get it into the June meeting, so we told the Warren and Finance that we would put it on, the proposed changes that the Warren and Finance came up with, we would put it on at the next special town meeting, and that's the one that's coming up. So it's an ordinance controlling solid waste within the town of Acton. We're changing, the municipality has a statutory obligation to provide solid waste disposal facility for domestic and commercial waste generated within the municipality pursuant to 38 MRSA 1301. Solid waste contains valuable recoverable resources, including energy, which if recovered, reduce the cost of solid waste. So we are taking out, because energy recovery technology is complex, most energy recovery facilities have high capital costs and long payback periods. To remain cost-effective and operate efficiently during their useful lives, energy recovery facilities requires a guaranteed steady supply of waste during their entire useful life. Consequently, municipalities need to provide the facility with a steady supply of solid waste for relatively long periods. So that was a contract that we had with them. We no longer have that contract because that facility is not up and running, so we're taking that out. The next thing we're taking out is to ensure delivery of a steady supply of waste to the energy recovery facility designated herein. Then we're taking out energy recovery and changing it to a waste disposal facility. And we're taking out energy or useful materials from waste generated, and we're taking out energy recovery again and put waste disposal facility. So it's really just housekeeping things because of the new contractors that we have. Everything else that was voted in June will stay in there. A recycling committee has been established under the direction of the Board of Selectmen to oversee and implement a recycling program for the town of Acton. We're taking that out because we no longer have a recycling committee. We now have a superintendent of the transfer station. Prior to disposal of waste into the compactor, the transfer attendant, at his or her discretion, may open the bag to ensure all contents are acceptable waste. That one's being added, Bob, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And transfer station manager, the Board of Selectmen shall appoint a transfer station manager to manage all aspects of operation at the transfer station and provide supervision to the attendants. Bob had already been doing that several years, but it was not in the ordinance, so now we've got it in there. We're taking out the municipal officer shall provide caretakers. We're taking out the word caretakers and putting in attendants under the supervision of the transfer station manager. And then we're taking out caretaker and changing that title to attendant. The next one is we're taking out caretaker again and putting in attendant. And then we're taking out the Board of Selectmen and the contractor responsible for the collection facility shall agree in writing as to the specific duties of each caretaker. We are no longer involved with the contractor because we bought our own compactor. Before, the employee that ran the compactor worked for a private contractor, and that has not been the case for several years. But then this past year, we bought a new compactor that the town of Acton owns instead of paying a lease payment, and we made enough money in 1 year to pay for that, and now we don't have to pay monthly fees on the rental of one that was probably, what, 30, 40 years old, Bob?
Yeah.
Costing us about $15,000 a year? $1,400 a month. So now we own it outright and we have a brand-new one. Bob has made some exceptional changes to running the transfer station, and I can't thank him enough. So those are the changes. If anybody has any questions or concerns, please come up to the mic, let us know who you are, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that we can. If not, then we have Bob answer them for you.
Yes, my name is Williams. I'm on the Warrant and Finance Committee. Two things I wanted to ask of Mr. Mann and/or the Selectmen. Number one, why is it that in this new ordinance, we're still putting names of organizations that we made contracts with? For example, Pine Tree. Couldn't that be more generic so that if we do change the contract later on, we could just have an addendum paper showing who was the present contractor of choice, rather than having to change the ordinance?
No, we have a contract based on a group. We're with several other towns. And when they closed the trash burning facility, this group, when they made the contract, it was for 25 years. And we are using the remainder of that contract with the new people that we're hauling now, with all of the negotiated deals. And actually, the price per ton went from $88, Bob, down to $72 per ton. So we gained a lot of money. So this is our contractor for the next 22 years.
2 years, I
So that's
understand.
why we're doing that, because we signed a joint agreement with Kennebunk, York, Wells, Shapley, Lebanon, all the towns got together, they all kicked in money for a lawyer, we hammered out this agreement, because the facility, as you heard, the things that we took out, was demanding that we always bring a certain amount of trash. So they wanted this big group so that they could run that building, but that
Understand.
building's gone. But the people that own the facility that's taking the trash now used to own that building.
Understand.
So it's still with the same company, but they changed their name, so that's why we had to change the names on here.
Okay. The second question I have is, I don't know what % of man-hours are devoted to recycle of various items. Certainly as a user of that, a lot of the stuff that our family brings there are recycling things. And it's very, very good recycling program. I mean, things that most cities don't recycle, we do recycle. My question is that we are keeping copies of permits and certification for the Pine Tree facility for waste disposal. Are we keeping the same sort of documentation for all the places that we send stuff to be recycled? Because some of them are out of state. And we need, I think, to know whether or not a particular place in Illinois that's getting something from us still has ongoing certification and permits from the state of Illinois and the EPA. And I see no mention in here about the rest of the stuff that we have that are recycled.
Bob, can you answer that? Who else do we have who are we selling to out of state or paying to haul out of state? Anybody?
There isn't anybody that I know of right now.
Right.
We have our e-waste, which goes down to, in Portland, through North Coast Services, and our metal goes down to Haverhill, but that's all done through Jim Punske, because Jim Punske buys it from us, and he trucks it down there himself, so it has nothing to do with us.
Right. So we're selling the recyclables to a contractor, and then the contractor takes ownership, and then he decides what he's going to do with it. Okay. And then the other stuff is the contract that we have for the 22 years, and that's here in Maine.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, then. Hearing none, I motion to go out of public hearing for the solid waste ordinance.
I move that we go to a hearing for, what?
Get out of the public hearing for solid waste.
To get out of the public hearing.
Seconded.
All in favor?